passe super. L'artiste, super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Uninformed Handball Hour. Here for the second time in a week. We're spoiling you. And we spoke earlier this week about an interview that we hoped to have that we weren't going to say anything about until we got it in the bag. But it's in the bag now. Coming up later on in this show. It's Chris O'Reilly here, joined by Alex Kulesh. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, Chris. I'm doing well.
And we had a chat with Anna Vyakhireva yesterday. Nice chat with her, the Vipers Kristiansand superstar, winner of the Champions League last season, MVP of the Olympics, and many more accolades. But before we chat to Anna, there was some European League action for the men on Tuesday night, and we're recording here on a Wednesday afternoon. So we'll have a little look back at that. And the main round coming to an end, Alex. 4 teams have booked their spot in the quarterfinals. 8 teams going into the playoff round. What did you make of the action?
Is it the most exciting competition in handball right now? The European League?
It could well be. I mean, it has all of the knockout joy, the big games that you were complaining about not having enough of a couple of weeks ago in the pod. I mean, we're always big fans of the European League.
Yeah,
in the Handball Hour. It's always we have a soft spot for it.
I never thought that I would be wishing for a main round in other competitions. You know, we talked about the main round as a weird concept that's really only relevant for handball. But the main round in the European League was a lot of fun. You get the top teams in there. They're all fighting for qualification, and they're fighting for, I think, positioning in the groups, which is, again, something quite important. 1, to get straight into the quarterfinal, and 2, to avoid some of the good teams. And when you look at one of those main round groups, Group 4, that's a Champions League group. You had Sporting, Fuchs Berlin, Dinamo Bucuresti, and CSM Constanta, who actually were quite good in the competition to date and finished above Sporting in the preliminary round. So, it's a lot of good teams in there, and it's shaping up to be a really good playoff round and quarterfinal there.
Yes. Should we start in that Group 4 then, with Sporting, who came out on top of the group, handing Fuchs Berlin a pair of defeats, and who finished in second, Berlin, with Dinamo Bucuresti in third, ahead of Constanta, who get knocked out. But Sporting on a fantastic run at the moment, which you alluded to on Twitter yesterday, and back-to-back victories over Berlin, which is a huge achievement and very much a team that deserves their automatic spot in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, so Sporting are on a 19-game winning streak now. It includes double wins against Fuchs Berlin, 2 wins against Dinamo Bucuresti. We have 2 wins against Porto. We got 2 wins against Benfica in that streak. They're unbeaten in the Portuguese league, looking like they're going to win it, finally take it away from Porto. 7 points ahead of Porto. They won the cup, or it was like a super cup essentially in Portugal, where they beat both Benfica and Porto. They're looking so good. They're looking so fun, and they're full of young talent. It's more than just the Costa brothers, who we've waxed lyrical enough already, but you can't underestimate just how exciting they are. They also, they brought in Jan Guri from Granollers. He's an exciting left back. They're just fun, and beating Fuchs Berlin twice is not yeah, it's such an impressive feat. And the win against Dinamo Bucharesti last night to seal that top spot, also really impressive. You know, this is a Dinamo Bucharesti team who are better than last year in terms of squad. And at home, that team were so good in the Champions League last year. You know, they really took a lot of scalps at home. And Sporting went in there, led from the start, 131-27. And they really did that against Füchse Berlin and Bucharesti. They just got out there, got ahead, and stuck the landing on the win, which is really impressive for a young team like that.
I like the fact that, you know, they have players there that, you know, for example, Ori Freyr Thorkelson, who has been around a little bit, the Icelandic winger who was playing with Elverum. They have our favourite name in handball, Salvador, who is showing us in the European League that he can play at left back, not just as a defender and makeshift line player. It is so much more than just the Costa brothers, but, you know, it is also the Costa brothers. Yeah. You know, once again, 11 goals between the two of them last night. And you said it there, you know, leading from start to finish, basically. It was the relative comfort of that win in Bucharest against a team like that really says a lot. And yeah, exciting to see what they will do in this championship now. I'm just going to have a look and see what their path to Hamburg and the final weekend is. And it's not not necessarily the easiest one. Basically, they face the winner of Nexe and Rhein-Neckar Leuven. But given that they've beaten Füchse Berlin home and away, a German team won't really fear them, particularly not Leuven, who are not exactly the toughest German team about at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I think Leuven really scraped by. They end up losing a main round game against Górnik Zabrze, the Polish team, who looked quite good. You know, they're third in Poland right now, a clear third team, but, you know, distant to Kielce and Plock, but still they kind of scraped by. It took a couple of amazing performances from David Spaeth to really get them through that main round. And Nexe, probably a bit disappointing. You know, we're all kind of ready to hail Nexe as the next kind of Croatian power. And, you know, after our podcast our last podcast where we waxed lyrical against Zagreb, I don't think that's the case. Nexe are still a distance away, and they're fiery. That's one thing's for sure.
Yeah, let's dive into that. Nexe in the end finishing third in Group 2, ahead of Gorenje Velenje, but behind Severhof in second place, and Skjern, who win that group, which is big. And we spoke to Alfred Jonsson a couple of weeks ago on the podcast from Skjern. Severhof getting a 6-goal win at home to Nexe, which basically was the decider, as that both teams ended up on 7 points. And fiery, you said, Alex, and it was one of the old boys, Farudan Melic, who I'm sure not too many people have come across that name much anymore, but, you know, a guy who played for PSG when the money first came in to them, a guy who has been around the top level of European handball for a long time. 39 years of age now, fighting a bunch of teenagers just outside of Gothenburg last night. And there were videos on Twitter. Johan Flink wrote all about it on Sportbladet in Sweden, and videos shared of the incident after the game. So there's this, let's say, ultras section of the Severhof.
With about 3 beard hairs between them.
Exactly. It's like the under-18 team. Having a laugh. Severhof have just beaten Nexe, which is a great achievement. Severhof, also a bunch of young players. I mean, they say under-18. Half of the team is 18. Never mind the people who are on the sidelines supporting them. And 39-year-old veteran Farudan Melic from Montenegro, of all places. You know, not a place you'd expect them to be got under the skin when it comes to dealing with fans. Just lost his shit. He was barking away at these kids. The kids just seemed to be laughing at him, which then sparked him to hop over the advertising board and then
Just stop.
had to be held back. He had to be
Was he held back, Chris, or was he looking to be held back? He just lost all. He was like a barking dog, and when the door was opened or the gate was opened, that when he stepped over the advertising board, he seemed to lose all momentum.
Yeah, well, there was somebody there to help him lose momentum, which is Felix Muller's father. So Felix Muller, the goalkeeper for Sävehof and Sweden, his dad, Peter Muller, he said as Farda Mellish jumped over the advertising boards to fight with the youth team, he said, "I saw what was about to happen and went down immediately," says Muller Sr. to Johan Flink. He was he stopped Mellish before he got all the way up to the stand, and then he says that Farda Mellish spat at them.
Oh, classic.
Which is really, really, really nasty. Fortunately for us, to see how hilariously disgusting this was, half of the guys in the crowd had their phones on them and were recording it while laughing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. But the Sävehof club director, Stefan Albrechtsson, said, from what I understand, our Kamikaze gang, which is the nickname for the group of fans, had learned some inappropriate words that they use without understanding the meaning of them. So they were barking these insults in, I guess, in Croatian. And but I think, nevertheless, an unnecessary reaction from a 39-year-old man. And he doesn't come away well with that, particularly as Olli Mitton, the 18-year-old who was on the court, scored 11 goals to beat them. Yeah. And Sävehof into the playoff round, which there was another story coming from Johan while we're on Sävehof that the finance department maybe not particularly happy that they've qualified. They admitted that every round that they progress, every 2 games that they play in this competition, is costing the club between 10 and 15,000 euro of loss every single time. So which does ask a question about this competition in that regard, right? If a team is competing in the second highest competition in Europe and they're making a 10 to 15,000 euro loss with every home and away game, it is not great. And they revealed that the financial support they get for this is 3,000 euro per round from the EHF and 10,000 euro per round from the Swedish league. And all that taken into consideration, they still make a big loss.
3,000 euros. Yeah. What? That doesn't pay for flights for Sävehof to go to even Germany where they're playing next. That's not going to pay for a team of flights. That is strange. They did have a nice arena full of people for that game, so. But I don't know how they price those tickets. But it doesn't bode too well. And when you see the caliber of teams in this competition, it makes me wonder whether should they not just be in the Champions League and be beefing that competition up. But we won't touch on that. Another team that's had... Well, actually, looking at the other 2 teams from that Group 4... Fixer Berlin are probably going to be kicking themselves that they've landed in the bracket that they've landed into by finishing second in Group 4 behind Sporting, because they have to play a playoff round, which they're going to be absolutely raging against. Despite the fact that they have, their squad is kind of back a little bit. Fabian Vida is back at right back, as well as Paul Drux. They were the 2 kind of big injuries they had. So finally, they have a bit of a squad to play with. But they still have to play 2 extra games against Cadet and Schaffhausen, who are fine. You know, they could in Schaffhausen caused trouble for Füchse Berlin last year in a similar round, but you know, they have to play these 2 games. But if they do win that round against Schaffhausen, they come up against Nantes, and that's a Champions League quarterfinal.
Yes, yeah, Nantes looking really good in this main round, as they already did a job against Rhein-Neckar Leuven in the first round. So they face Hanover, beat them home and away, and the victory yesterday at home against Hanover, you know, watching that game back just really makes me want to go back to Nantes. It is perhaps the best atmosphere, like positive vibe atmosphere in all of European handball, and it's one that just belongs in the Champions League. It's such a good time.
This is going off topic a little bit, but you say it's the best atmosphere, and the reason for that is it's one of the only clubs with a really young following. Like the crowd doesn't have an average age of 60. I was a couple of games I've watched, watching Aalborg play at home, and it was just white hair in the crowd. You know, it was a full arena. They were clapping, but white hair. Then I also watched the Füchse Berlin Sporting game previously, and you know, it's Berlin, cool, hip, young city, but none of those cool, hip, young people are going to Füchse Berlin games. They're too busy, you know, in Berghain, staying up all night to be going to handball. But that's just, it's something I've started noticing around that, especially Northern Europe, where there's some really top handball teams. It really is it's an old crowd. Not the case for Nantes, though. They managed to like get the youth involved. That's why it's a real party at those games. Yeah,
and all but one court player scoring yesterday for Nantes against Hanover, which is always very impressive. And also they came back from behind to get a win there. So yeah, they're straight into the quarterfinal. We mentioned Sporting and Skjern as well. One German team managed to break the mold and make it straight to the quarterfinal, which was Flensburg. However, I haven't watched any of their European League games. I just kind of assumed that they would be there, and they're there.
Yeah, I think they can comfortably book a place in the final. At least the final 4. They've sailed through this competition. They're just better than the rest. Interesting because Füchse Berlin having more trouble, but it's the luck of the draw for Flensburg. You know, a group with Cadetten, Vojvodina, and Silkeborg, really not a challenge, and they beat Björn Borg Silkeborg, who qualified into the next round by 19 goals. Just absolute pure demolition. They just basically shot. They had their top 4 scorers were essentially at 100%, combining for about 25 goals. So easy pickings for Flensburg so far, and they're going to be comfortable with whoever comes out of that pairing, Hannover Bergdorf or Sevehof. It's not really going to make a difference. Over 2 legs, they're going to sail through.
So that's what I wanted to ask you then, before we finish up with the European League for now, the predictions. So Flensburg, you say, are going through from that quarter against either Sevehof or Hannover Bergdorf. Then Nantes against the winner of Berlin and Schaffhausen. Where's your money going there?
Something tells me Nantes, just because if Füchse Berlin are gonna lose focus on one competition, it's going to be the European League.
My thoughts exactly.
I don't know what matches are around those two. We still don't know. It's still a while away, but they're just going to focus on the league. They have a huge opportunity. While for Nantes, they've actually they've lost pace in France. They're fighting back, but really this competition could be a huge thing for them.
Berlin finally have a chance to get back in the Champions League and win the title. So their focus is going to be there. Skjern, against the winner of Dinamo Bucharesti.
Hold on. Let's for Rasmus Boyson, we need to at least talk about Skjern a little bit.
Oh, we had them on the podcast a couple of weeks ago at Alfred.
We did have a full podcast with Alfred, but impressive by Skjern to they seem to just do well in European competitions. They have a focus, and I think for them having this slightly more international squad that they have compared to other Danish teams with players like Noah Gadan and Joachim Nazare helps them in this setting because they're able to match up against different styles of play a little bit better as opposed to other teams in Denmark, which we've seen be impressive, but then really struggle when they come up against different styles. But it's going to be an interesting one because Dinamo Bucharesti will be playing against Silkeborg. I do expect Dinamo to go through and match up against Skjern in that quarterfinal, and we just have to see what Dinamo are made of.
That'll be a real test for both, and yeah, the second leg will be in Denmark, and that's going to be a proper test for the mentality of this Dinamo team. You don't fancy one over the other at the moment?
I don't trust Dinamo. They should be better than they are. They have the players. I'm not really sure why they've faltered. Again, could be luck of the draw. Sporting and Füchse Berlin are two tough teams to play against in that main round. So, but not getting 1 point or a victory against either of those teams makes me worried.
And Sporting against the winner of Nexe and Rhein-Neckar Leuven. I can't look past Sporting at the moment.
Sporting are my favourites for this whole competition.
That would be a great final tournament. Skjern, Flensburg, and Sporting.
And even
proper variety.
It's just great to see that this competition is not a German fest anymore.
Yes.
Even though
basically that's the key.
Even though Flensburg are probably the clear favourites here. They are probably a step above the rest when in form. But let's see.
Okay, so that's our look back at the European League, and we'll definitely touch back on that when it gets around to the quarter-final time. Now we'll move on to our interview with Anna Vyakhireva, the Vipers Kristiansand right back, also Russian international who won the Olympics with them, was the MVP in Rio 2016, and a very interesting character. She's a magnificent player who also, after the Olympics in 2021, took some time out of the sport as well to basically look after herself, made a comeback, moved to Vipers, and has been going on from strength to strength. We speak to her about settling into life in Norway, also about how she's been dealing with issues off the court, how that relates to her handball and her plans for the years to come.
Hello and welcome, Anna Vyakhireva, to the podcast. Thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Thanks a lot. It's my pleasure. I'm doing good. Main part of the season is behind, so yeah, pretty excited about what's coming next. Pretty excited about this talk as well.
That's great to hear.
Or maybe that was a lie.
Oh, come on.
Already.
You've been in Norway for 2 years now. Big change for you. How has it been to be, a player in Norway as opposed to your earlier career?
Yeah, I didn't have much of experience before I come here, like living abroad and stuff. So for me, it was quite new. Everything was new. The culture, the mentality. Yeah, it was a complete blank page for me, and for me it was a big step forward as well, because I always wanted to try to play abroad, and so far I think I made the best decision ever. Last year it's been just amazing for me. I enjoyed it a lot. Of course, there's been ups and downs, but mostly with handball. But I think you don't remember those downs when it ends that well.
You said there it's been the best decision in your life so far. I mean, can you go into some examples or details of what exactly you mean by that?
Champions League, it is, of course, that's the first and main reason. And I really wanted to win it. And as you say, worked since the first year. And that's what I mean when I say that it was the best decision. But also the life here and the people I met. I think, it's a big thing in my life now, both handball and the life outside of it.
So are you a fan of mountains and cross-country skiing now, living in Norway?
No. I tried hiking though, and I've never done hiking on a mountain, but I had experienced it last summer, and I'm not doing that again. So in that, I'm not Norwegian at all.
Good.
That's not my thing.
It's a nice part of the country anyway for the summer, even without the mountains, right?
Yeah, summer is nice, but the winter and autumn are not the best.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're not excited right now. It's I think no one is excited in March in Scandinavia. I don't think there's a single person that
it affects a lot of your mood and everything. So yeah.
We know very well. Alex lived in Copenhagen for a number of years. I still live in Gothenburg in Sweden, so we feel you. Yes, but we're still we're committed to it. Okay, I want to ask you about last season then, because particularly the Final Four, you've had plenty of experience in the past and coming so close in 2019 in particular. You were fourth in 2018, so you had experienced this event before going all the way last season with Vipers. Do you think those previous experiences kind of helped going into a final weekend like that? Because players approach these Final Four weekends in different ways, and there's very specific ways to deal with it. How did those experiences influence you?
Maybe that was experience, maybe something else. But I think on the first place is that I also grew up a lot. And not just with ages, but in mental way. And I think last year's Final Four was actually quite fun for me. And it was a really different experience from what I had before, because I was nervous as hell. And it meant like the world to me. And I just wanted to give my best and win, of course. But now I've learned just to put it in a different way, even though I want to win it, not less. Yeah, it's just been, I think, personal growth on the first place. But of course, when you've been there a few times before, you are not new to it, and you're less nervous. But I think it also depended a lot on our coach, because he gave us a lot of confidence there, and we were like really chilling those days, and we knew we're ready. And if we are not on some reason, then what can we do? We just give our best and see what's going to happen.
And when you say you grew up a lot, is that the main kind of difference for you, that it's not building the pressure for yourself and being more comfortable in that setting? Is that the major change?
I think so. Now when I look back, it's been always a pressure, and most of the time it was a pressure I put on myself. Now I'm trying to learn that you cannot be perfect, and not all of your games are going to be perfect. Even perfect ones, you are doing mistakes. Just not focus on them and just do your best from the moment to moment. But that is thing I'm still working on, because I'm focusing too much on bad things. But I think we can call it an experience, but I'm not sure.
You mentioned there about Ole Ekstad kind of making you feel comfortable in that weekend. I guess that's one of the positives for this Vipers team, because they'd been a couple of times in a row and won it, even though there was a lot of transition every time. And I think that was one of the most impressive things about this team, is that you recalibrated, you found the new balance every time. What do you think the key for that was last season? How did you manage to gel so quickly, or at the right time at least?
Yeah, I think we started from the bottom, because of course it's been quite new, and when the backline changes that much, it's a struggle. But I felt quite insecure about our team in the beginning of the season, even though I believed in girls and myself, but we weren't in our best shape. But during the season, we just were like going up and up and up. And in the end, we just were in the best shape. Our statistics were quite terrible in the beginning of the season, but then it was quite good. So I think it's just time. And also, I think it was such a good players who we talked to each other a lot. We listened to each other, and yeah, we made a huge work, and we just tried our best. And the communicative part was I think most important, and it's been quite amazing. And I think also those feelings you get when you're new to each other, it takes time after game by game to know where another's going to run and which position is going to appear. So that I think we catched quite early. But yeah, as I said in the beginning, I was like, oh, maybe it was wrong. But then, yeah, it went really well. I guess it's communication and the atmosphere in the team, of course, because it's been just amazing.
This year, going into this year, there's more changes, of course. You mentioned how the coach Gieksad was so helpful in that final. Now with a new coach, Thomas Valti, how has his tactical changes been, and have you been able to keep the same spirit in the team and keep your communication with a new coach?
Communication in the team has not changed at all. We're trying our best. Oh, guys, it's quite hard for me to talk about it, actually. Yeah, but he's quite new, and his view on things is also different. So I would say that we're still adopting the things he has brought, but yeah, only time will tell if it's good or not.
Yeah.
Oh.
It feels like you connect a lot of, your personal feelings to handball, which I guess everyone does. And the last couple of years obviously could not have been easy for you, like with the situation in Russia for the last couple of years, which I guess was also a driving force for you to go abroad, and then recently in the club as well, with the financial situation and the players having to go out and bring money into the club. How does that kind of correspond with you as a handball player, and how much able are you to disconnect and use handball as maybe a distraction? How do you approach it in that way?
I think it is a distraction in a way, and when I'm on the court with a ball, it just shuts me off from the life, and it helps to just have fun, because you're going to have fun with handball anyway, whatever it's training, game or games, of course, more. But it is kind of, the thing I just love to do, and it helps to develop in a way and get things in life also a bit easier. But sometimes you cannot manage, of course, and that's okay. But so far, I don't think you have time during handball to think about something else. So it's a huge help, I'd say.
Onto this season, and it's quite a contrast. I think you touched on it there, this season, how it's gone so far, but maybe there are a little bit of some similarities in terms of the growth of the team. You have to go into the playoffs this time, no direct ticket into the quarterfinal, and it's quite a tough a couple of journeys to Hungary if you want to get to Hungary in the end. Basically, with Scheffler in the playoff, and then Jur waiting in the quarterfinals, and you get through that. Would you say that Vipers are, in comparison to last year, what kind of position do you think the team is in, and do you think the ceiling is as high, or are you trying to find different solutions to go as far as possible?
I mean, during this season, we were already preparing ourselves to be the last ones in the group. Because we started terribly, and that's not a secret. And of course, you lose some confidence on the way. But then somehow we catched the feeling and went. What place are we at? Fourth?
Fourth, yeah.
Okay. I'm not the one that's counting, and you just tell me who we play next, and we will do it. And I'm actually quite happy we're gonna play in Hungary because I love to play there. But yeah, it's gonna be hopefully 3 times, and I think it's actually good for us that we play this 8th final, and like in our situation now, it's good for us to have as many games as possible, even though of course it's maybe tougher physically, but I think we're going to be ready. But we need this game time to gain our communications and trust in each other. And also now it's a lot of breaks for national teams, and some players are working hard, and some are not that hard. But I feel we can do it. We can go to Final Four, and there you never know. I'm not thinking that far, like about Gjord and stuff, because games that are coming, it's not going to be easy. So I prefer just to focus on them. And meanwhile, we're playing Norwegian championship, so we don't have much problems with that. But still, it's important to win every game. So just game by game, and we'll see where it's going to bring us. But I think we have chances to go to Final Four.
And the group was also quite a difficult one. I think there's a serious balance in there. And do you think, what did change? You said you caught a feeling and started getting some momentum in the group. What were the changes that you made? And do you continue with the same momentum, or do you need to make more changes?
Maybe it's not even about changes, but we have to improve in many things. And I think the hardest part was for Lois in the team, because she changed her normal position to a middle back. So we're trying to adapt our game to bring out her best skills up, and just make her shine as she usually do. Our pivots, it's also been quite a work journey to do, because both of us, our first pivots as Anna Debelic, she wasn't here last year, but Katarina, I enjoy to play with her a lot. But the pivots we have now, they're quite different, they have different styles, so we're still trying to adapt for each other and just try and find a better ways. And those positions are most important, I think, on the pitch. So I like individual things and everything. There's always something to improve. So we can talk about it for days.
But as you said, there's a lot of individual kind of brilliance in the team as well. And you also look at players like Emina, Lois, and Paula, who's younger but showing so much talent as well. Do you enjoy trying to kind of puzzle that together and figure out the best way to unlock each other?
Yeah, of course. That's what makes it interesting and hard at the same time, because this is our job to find the better ways for each other. And I don't feel a struggle to play with people and help them, but I also think that I'm not the best one to adapt for, because we're all different. If you look at our team, everyone is in their different style on the back line. We need more time to adapt, because if you change just the middle back, then it's different. And if you put one from the middle to the left, it's a process, and we're working on it. But it is exciting to see how it's going to work out in the end.
The Olympics have brought you a lot of success, and you mentioned that there's a lot of focus on the international handball stage, but at the same time, it brings a lot of pressure. The Olympics leading to an extreme situation, and you having to take a break. So, is there almost a small feeling of relief to not have this Olympics on the horizon, bringing all the pressure?
Even though I have won it, I still want to win it again. For me now, it is what it is. I'm quite jealous to girls about them being there and playing there and just enjoy it, because it's the best time for us athletes. But I just prefer not to think about things I cannot change or do something about. So yeah, it is what it is. If I had a choice, I would love to play this summer as well.
Alex mentioned the career break that you took at some point, and we saw another big name example not so long ago in Mikkel Hansen take one out, which, and I think for both of you, there was a lot of kind of support and positivity from the handball world around that. How much did that break help you personally? And do you think this is something that players should not necessarily do, but if they feel they need to, that there should be kind of a pathway for them to do that and look after their mental health?
Don't get my advice wrong, but I really agree with getting this break and just do as you feel. Because me personally, it just charged me in a way. I didn't know if I'm quitting or if I'm taking a break, because I was at that point when I really hated handball and I just didn't want to see the ball. I didn't want to see anything that's connected to it. I would say it was quite fast when I realized that. Maybe it was just because I knew I can do nothing but handball. But still, I do love this game. And even now, I think if I feel that I'm sick of it, I would do the same. I think you also should be, I don't know if it's possible for everyone to do so, because I was in a lucky position, because people around me were really understandable and they agreed on everything and just said, you do you. And I hope everyone could do that, but better, of course, not to bring it to that point when you cannot handle it anymore. And that's a secret that people are still trying to unlock and find the right ways to manage it and be quite stable and on the way. It's still a struggle to find the balance, and I think I'm way better than I was before, but there are still days when I'm like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. But I also think it's quite all right.
There's days I don't want to do my job. There's days I don't want to do this. but from the way we've talked today, actually, you've projected your love of handball continually. I don't know if you actually noticed that, but the amount of times in this interview that you said how much you love handball, and I think that's probably something you're conscious of and maybe unconscious. But I think for me, it's quite clear that you do love handball. Question leading on from that is that you're coming into your prime years. You love handball again.
Hopefully.
What do you want to achieve on the court? You've already done so much for the next few years.
The same, again and again, as many times as possible. I still want to improve myself, my game, and explore something new, even though I have no idea what that could be. But I just want to win everything as more as I can while I'm playing. And even though I said I love handball, I hope that when I'm done, I'm not going to be connected to it in any way.
Because you mentioned there, you figured out you couldn't do anything else. Was there anything, any kind of other alternative career or passion that you would like to follow? Yeah,
I wish I knew, but it's been a struggle for me for some time because, of course you do think about future and everything, but for now I'm just trying to chill. And the more I look for it, the less I find. So I'm just trying not to worry about it. And there's always time after handball to study, to do whatever you want. And I hope that's going to be the time when I discover my new passion. And but I'm pretty sure I was talking to one ex-player. And I was like, I'm stressing so much about what's going to be after. I don't know what I'm going to do. Whatever. And she said, you know what? I didn't do a thing for a year. I was just home with my family and I was just gaining like strength and power and energy to just start something new. So don't you bother, you will figure it out. And we work so much now, and hopefully we can offer to ourselves some calm life, at least for some time, and enjoy traveling. Or so I'm quite terrified, but I'm looking forward to it because it's interesting what's going to happen next.
Well, we're happy that you're so heavily involved in the handball world still, and for a few more years to come. So I hope you feel appreciated, and I'm sure you do. And I hope this wasn't too bad in the end, was it, Anna?
Are we done?
We're done.
Okay,
That was
very
30
yes, guys. Time with you flies.
Oh, that's.
Take that as a compliment.
I'll remind you of that next time. But we really appreciate your time and also your honesty. It really comes across really nicely. I hope that the rest of the season goes well for you, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 more visits to Hungary. Time will tell. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you in action.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to Anna Vyakhireva. A fascinating story and a interesting character, and will be very interesting to see how Vipers progress this season. We will have a Women's Champions League podcast coming up next week where we really break down every team as the playoff round kicks off. So we'll get into details of Vipers and all the other teams competing next week.
On what you were saying there about their route, potential 2 trips to Hungary to get to Budapest again for the final weekend, saying that it's probably the best for them to have this playoff round. So not really bothered by missing out on the quarterfinal ticket directly. You feel like there is a little bit of maybe not frustration there, but kind of, waiting for the breakthrough with this team. It does seem like the ceiling is quite high when you look at the players at their disposal, and they're not quite firing on all cylinders. They haven't quite clicked. But as we know well, it doesn't have to happen throughout the season. They just have to put themselves in a position for that to happen. And Vipers are a team we've seen over the last few years that you can trust to do that, even with the new setup. So yeah, I wouldn't rule them out completely based on the players they have, and also based on what Anna was saying there. But it'll be interesting to see how they get on in the next few weeks.
Again, we will have a podcast coming next week about the women's handball. We'll also have a couple more morning clubs to keep us going. Thank you, Chris, and also thank you to Anna for the chat, and thank you all for joining.